Welcome to the KMG Fiduciary Partners Podcast. Here, we'll cover important topics on financial planning and asset management to help keep you informed and inspired for long-term success on your financial journey. Let's join the KMG team now for today's topic.
Welcome to the KMG Fiduciary Partners Podcast. My name is Rob Thompson. I'm a CPA and wealth advisor here with KMG. I've also got Cameron Kaiser with us today. Cam is a CFP and wealth advisor as well. Today I want to ask Cam, what are some ways that can cause a financial plan to fail?
Sure. That's a good question. I'd say there's so many of them, but some of the big ones, the one that comes to mind right away is someone not accurately having their expenses. I think a lot of people, they underinflate or underestimate their expenses, and they say, okay, well, I only need $5,000, not including Social Security, every month for retirement. And then in reality, they retire and they really need $10,000. So obviously, if we have a plan, even if there's wiggle room in it, where we're anticipating they take out $5,000 a month, that's doubled. Unless they have a ton of cushion, that's probably not going to work long term. And it works the same way for monthly fixed expenses, but also works for one-offs. Maybe someone they're taking out 4% from their investments every year or projected to, and it works, but then they have $50,000 they need every year for one-offs that we didn't account for.
Yeah,
I think that's a really big part of it. And I think when you're looking at retirement, it's a real simple calculation. It's money coming in versus money going out and how it affects your investable assets long term. And if those numbers are off, the financial plan's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, that's well put. And I think what I really try to harp on when somebody's gearing up for retirement, getting ready to take that next step, is really getting the expenses nailed down. And well, heck, I know even in my own household, right? I do this for a living, and no 2 months are ever the same. So it's making sure that we have enough. You said buffer, and I think that's a good word there. Enough buffer to navigate the months where we've got Christmas this month, right? That's typically a more expensive
Absolutely.
month than most. Having those one-offs that are kind of baked into your overall expense budget is very important. Another thing that I almost on the exact opposite end of the spectrum here that I run into is, I don't think the goal necessarily should be to see how much money you can pass away with. There's a kind of a fine line or a balance between living within your means, right? And overspending to the point where we're going to run ourselves out of money by the time you're 75. My favorite conversation that I get to have with people who have inherently been good savers throughout their lives is, hey, you're another year older, right? You got one less year on this earth as far as we're concerned. You need to go spend some more money.
Sure.
Because you can't take it with you. And sure, there are estate planning, topics out there, and everybody's a little different in how much they want to leave the kids or charities, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's funny. I mean, you have the people that probably shouldn't be worried about around money, the ones that are worried, and vice versa, the people that aren't worried, the ones that should be worried. I think if you have a lot of money, saved to retirement accounts or just brokerage accounts or just accumulate over your life, it probably means you live well within your means. Yeah. So getting people to try to take the extra step and say you can actually go on that vacation or give that money to your grandkids or throw money to 529. Sometimes a tough thing for people to do, even if they have a ton of room in their financial plan to be able to afford that. It's kind of just changed that mindset from continuing to save their whole life to actually being able to treat themselves and spend it, and you can't take it with you. So trying to find that happy balance is really key.
That's probably one of the biggest hurdles I run into actually is you've been in a wealth accumulation phase for, let's just say, on average 30 years, right? Or most of your life. To all of a sudden revert and switch over to now I'm in a withdrawal phase. That's it's a big hurdle for people to jump through mentally.
No kidding.
Another thing that I run into, somebody that maybe hasn't worked with a financial planner in the past, is getting too conservative too quickly with their investment assets, right? So, things like target date funds are automatically going to assume that you need more or less 100% liquidity on the day that you retire, right?
No.
In reality, we want that money to continue to grow throughout your retirement so that you don't outlive your money.
Yeah, and that's another risk people don't think about. You say, okay, well, I don't like risk. Well, it's like, okay, well, there's no investment that's zero risk. If you're too conservative, you have the risk of outliving your money.
Yeah.
You have inflation risk. So you're trying to find that happy balance of, taking on, market risk. By doing so, you're reducing inflation risk, and you don't want to be all in all the time, but find that happy balance that keeps you diversified and allows your money to grow, but also sleep at night if the market goes down a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's well put, and I think that's probably plenty. And there's so much more to talk about here, but if you have any questions regarding your financial plan or what cash flow looks like, or just need help, figuring out what does retirement look like for me, feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of the KMG Fiduciary Partners podcast. We invite you to catch the next episode in our series for real-world advice from the KMG team. Follow us on LinkedIn at KMG Fiduciary Partners, where we'll keep the conversation going.